Hey guys, what's up? My name is Art and welcome to a different video. I have my glasses on because I had to read some things off. Now, if you're looking for a comic book or toy related video, this is not the kind of video for you. This is a real life video. And the thing is that even if this doesn't, because this not interest you, maybe you might want to watch it because this deals with what goes on with life today. Today, after I got off of work, my dad had his wedding. And, it's kind of late. I got home about a couple hours ago. I was putting this together so I can do this video because this was on my mind. And especially my father brought this up to me today. Because, of course, I have student loans. Back in the 80s, that's when I graduated high school. They basically said, you got to go to school or you'll be flipping burgers, which means you work in a fast food dead end, or what at that time it's called a dead end job. Nowadays, because like what happens, a lot of adults work at these places, and you look up and it's like, well, what's going on? What can we do? You know, so millions of students like myself went there. Some people went the military route. I know some people who almost lost their GI Bill because they couldn't make the grades. So I mean, and I didn't have the mental capacity to go to the military. That doesn't mean I was weak. It was because of the fact that I'm a nonconformist. So someone said I'm a nonconformist. I'm not that kind of a person who can conform to military life. So I would be bucking the system. I probably would have been kicked out, and which would have been bad for me anyway. So I, like millions of students, took student loans because that's the only way we could pay for it. A lot of us didn't. Our parents, couldn't pay for it. My parents didn't make enough money to send me to school. They didn't. So why, the student loans was it's not their burden. It's my burden. See, like for example, if you're an adult and you have small children, make some bank accounts for them so they can help pay for school. Make some kind of school funds or something, so that way it offset their costs of going to school. They started off a bank account for me so I can go to school, but some kind of financial shenanigans wiped out that account. That's a different story in itself. But anyway, as you can see, a lot of people are complaining about our president Joe Biden. They want we and what happens, people like myself say, yes, let's wipe away all student debt. Now, I didn't mean by wipe away all student debt. It's in like, I mean, like for example, if you was paying for it and you faithfully was paying for it, give us some relief. If you decided I ain't paying for shit, sorry, if I wasn't paying for a damn dime and wasn't trying to pay for it, then maybe you should stick it to those people. But anyway, of course, the conservative party was like, no, you took out the loans, you pay for it. True, and guess what? Here's a problem. In reality, we know that big businesses got payoffs. Some people got their loans forgiven. Businesses and stuff like that. Whether it was passed by Congress or what, some of their stuff got, whatever. But the thing is that how come is it that someone like me can't get that? How come someone like me can't get that kind of relief? So what happens after I graduated from school, this is how much my student loans costed. That's how much I borrowed. Okay? That's how much it cost me to go to school. Now, mind you, I do have a great career. I do. And I do make decent money. But then again, what happens is people don't take into account that the cost of living went up. For example, if the cost of living was like the 1990s cost of living, people would not have problems paying back their school loans because the cost of living was a lot cheaper in the 90s. Gas was like $1 a gallon. You could spend $100 and feed yourself for a month. You know what I'm saying? That's how good it was. Okay. But like in today's society, you don't have to go to school to do something. Some schools, there's specific schools. Like for example, there's truck driving school, which you take like a month course and you can start truck driving a truck, making lots of money. You could, chauffeur's license where you could do this. Some people do Uber Eats and Lyft and all this other stuff, self-employment kind of thing. Some people own their own limousine company. You know, you could create your own business now. That's what a lot of people do, creating their own business. A lot of people are, selling insurance or doing this or doing the hustle to make their money, and that's great. Some people go to HVAC school, in which you spend like a year and a half at an HVAC school, and boom, you started making instant money. And then within years, you can form your own company, whatever. That's great for them. But I'm talking about me specifically. And the thing is, because of me specifically, millions of other students who went to school took out those loans are like me because we're trying to pay for stuff. Think about this. If we didn't have to, some people say, "Oh, I paid all my student loans off." That's great. Either one, you had a job that paid you enough money to to kill it off very quickly, or a combination of your cost of living was like almost non-existent. Like say for example, some people got a job. Like for example, some people get a career and they still staying with their parents in their parents' house. So all the money they're making is theirs. So yeah, doing that, yeah, you could wipe out your credit card. You could wipe out all your student loan debt a lot faster if you're doing that. Especially if your parents are paying for all your food, your cost of living, and all this other stuff. Yeah, of course you could. But not everybody's like that. Not everybody has that. This one person, her father paid back his student loans, but he's a doctor. You know, he started making lots of money in his first couple of years. Back then, some people, the average salary in America is between $40,000 to $60,000 for a career. So, and people say, well, maybe you shouldn't have got that basket weaving degree. Well, I don't have a basket weaving degree. My degree was in organizational communications, and working for the federal government like I do, all you need is a bachelor's degree. So technically, you could take your basket weaving degree and get a job at the federal government. Okay, in theory. But like I said, this is how much I borrowed. Okay, I started paying back, and what happens when you get out of school? They give you 2 years to start paying a forbearance before you have to start paying back, because they assume you get your job, you try and get your stuff together. And sometimes if you don't have it together, you can, every year have to file forbearance. And what happens? I got approved 1998. I graduated. I started my job in 2000. So I was, I was asking for forbearances. And then when I got my job, I said, yeah, I finally got my job. So I said, okay, you can get a forbearance within a couple of years. Okay. Now, what happens, I consolidated all my debt with the federal government because I was working for the federal government, and it's a lot easier. All right, great. So what happened is I was on the income contingent. Now, I chose income contingent because of the fact that originally, to pay back that loans, my monthly payment would be like $800 to $900 a month. And when I first started my job, I was making $25,000 a year. You can't afford that. You can't afford that. So you had to do what you got to do. You take the income. So I was paying $200 a month, which I could afford. It was tough, but I could afford it. Then within the first couple of years, I started making a little bit more money. Then later on to what I'm doing now. But guess what? I'm paying the mortgage now. The mortgage is like almost $1,000. Mortgage is like $1,000 a month. Paying for a new car. paying for this, paying for that. Everything's so much expensive these days. So I mean, yes, people are going to struggle a little bit. I'm on the struggle bus, but guess what? I still do what I got to do. So after a certain amount of time, I started paying back $347 a month student loans. That's what my current payment is. Okay, $347. Now, in 1 year, I pay $4,164. That's how much I pay in 1 year. Now, for the last 15 years before the pandemic, I was paying $347. So this is how much money I paid back. That's $62,460. That's how much in student loans I pay back. That's how much I pay back for. That's how much I pay back. Now, mind you, that's 62. That's 62. Remember, I borrowed that. So think about this. If I pay $62,000 and I only borrowed that, what is my principal? That's how much my principal was. So in the 15 years I've been paying that, I only knocked off $7,500 of debt. That's where the problem with a lot of this is. And technically it's what sometimes we call it a legal scam, because you're forced to take these loans to get the job you want or the job you need, but you can't really afford to pay it back. Now I do agree, you should pay back something. Think about it. I paid back $60,000. I did. But there's no end in sight. There's no end in sight. In 15 years, I paid down $7,000. What happens in another 10? What is it going to go down? $10,000? I don't know. Think about this. You buy a house. It's a 20 or 30 year loan mortgage. So you know in 20 to 30 years your house is going to be paid off. My car costed me $20,000. It's going to take me 7 years to pay my car off. And the problem is with student loans, there's no end in sight really. I could be paying now, though, you want to tell you what the really funny thing about this? Originally, when I first did all this, they told me all you had to do is pay for 20 years. After 20 years, whatever you owe left would be automatically waived. Automatically waived. Automatically. Now think about this. I paid, before the pandemic, that was like 17 years. So, technically in 3 years, all the rest should be waived automatically until they changed the rules. And that's what they did. They changed the rules. So, it doesn't automatically get waived. Yeah. Now, because of that, this is the reason why a lot of people, like myself, we should get some help. And the thing is that, well, why should we get some help? In my opinion, because I'm paying money into the system. I'm spending money. I'm helping the economy. I'm getting taxed. Okay? I do the normal things. All right? But then again, some people who don't have to do this. So, if you pay back your student loans, I'm glad that you did. And the fun thing is, the only way you could have done it is if you had some kind of support system to help you out. Or you had a really kick-ass job, like I said before. So am I in favor of... Now, what happens, they say, okay, instead of wiping out your whole loans, we're going to wipe out 10,000. Okay. It's better than nothing. So, like, out of that 60,000, they're going to wipe away 10,000. Okay. That maybe it should help the interest rate a little bit, to where majority of my money goes back and towards the balance to knock it down further. Or will they waive the rest of it? I don't know. And that's something like me, I think of. That's something that I think of on a regular basis. That's something that I hope might happen. Because there's a lot of people like me who's paying their stuff, who's paying it. But the problem is, because of life is more expensive. See, they didn't account for life. See, you could tell me, go pay your loans. Fine. It's called personal responsibility. We know that. I've been paying them. Just like I pay for everything else I do. But the problem is, does that mean I don't deserve the help? Really? I don't know. So basically, I just wanted to get this. And what happens when I'm telling you, that's some real life stuff. That's personal. That's personal. All the stuff I told you, it's very personal. So I'm very invested in what's going on, because here's the thing: one of my coworkers, him and his wife, has student loans, and they just now putting their daughter in school, and the second daughter's going to be coming up later on. In a couple of years, their second daughter is going to go to school. My niece went to school today to move up there. She moved up to Central Michigan University today. And the problem is, she's going to be loaded down with student loans. Probably worse than me, because school costs more than it did almost 30 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So either one or two things I want to say. One of the things that either make school more affordable or do something to offset the costs. I don't know. Well, let me know. With that being said, let me know what you think down below. Let me know what you think. See, the thing is, when you hear stuff like this, I want to put a face on it, and that's what I put my face on it. And you get to see what I deal with on a monthly, weekly basis that I think about, and I hear from both sides. One of my friends never went to school. He tried to go to school. His school wasn't for him. He does his self-employment stuff, and he makes pretty good money. And he's like, you shouldn't be I'm like, and I'm sitting right here. I was like, dude, you're talking about me. And then he had to back off a little bit because he's anti-Biden anyway. So if he does something that actually helps the American people, he's going to be against it. Okay, but anyway, with that being said, thank you very much for listening. If you like this content, give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below. I'd like to hear what you guys think. I really do. And hey, we're all human, and hopefully everything goes well. So I'll talk to you later.